everyone, and welcome to our session today. Good morning to those of you joining us here in Austin for ClioCon 2024. And of course, a special good morning to everybody joining us from around the globe virtually. All right, we're going to dive in to how you can connect your financial processes. But first, who are we? Well, my name's Megan. I am the Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Clio for our accounting and billing products. And I couldn't be more thrilled to introduce you to my co-presenter today. She has helped hundreds of law firms gain control of their finances over many years, and she is one of the foremost experts in legal accounting. Without further ado, Peggy.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you very much. I've been working with Clio for about the last 16 years, helping them, as Megan pointed out, just build better businesses. And some of the tips we're going to give you today are also going to help you create a better business as well. So thank you.
Amazing. So what's on the agenda? Well, we're going to start out with our 3 tenets of financial success so that you can thrive as a business and as a law firm. And then we're going to give you the blueprint on how exactly you can do that by breaking down a ton of best practices in our financial stages or cycles. We're going to start with best billing practices and then move on into payment collection practices and, of course, round out the session with our bookkeeping and accounting best practices. If you're writing too furiously in that notebook, though, don't worry. We're going to sum a few things up at the end. And then, of course, you can always find us for questions later. Now, as law firms, of course, this should be no surprise to you. Your business has very particular needs. You're different than a florist or a restaurant, right? And so if the way that you operate is fundamentally different, of course, your finances should be different as well, and the way that you manage your financial processes. That's ever more important because we're going to be talking about connecting those financial processes so that there are no gaps. We're reducing those risks and eliminating errors where we can. Now, I've teased these a little bit, your 3 tenets of success, the 3 words I would like you to keep in mind. We're going to start with interconnectivity. When I say this word, I really want you to think of financial flow. Okay, so as we move through the financial trifecta, right, our billing, our payment collection, and our accounting, there should be data flow at every single stage. We want to eliminate those gaps so that we don't have any guessing to do about what insights we're missing. Our next tenet to thrive here is proactivity. Now, as a law firm, if you can be proactive and do more things up front, what you're actually going to do is save yourself time in the long run. You are going to be able to spend less time on these administrative tasks, non-billable tasks, more time with your cases and clients, and the best part, you're going to be able to provide a client-centered experience. And our third tenet, this would not be a financial session if I did not touch on accuracy. This is absolutely the most important. Accuracy is everything. It comes down to being accurate in your trust accounting. You want to have accurate bills that you're sending your clients to reduce their questions, but also to make sure they get paid. You want accurate insights so that you are actioning decisions at your law firm that are based on fact. And you want to do that with confidence. By being able to be accurate, you're actually able to secure more repeat and referral business. And we'll talk to you about exactly how you can do that a little bit later. Now, to achieve our 3 tenets of success right here, proactivity, interconnectivity, and accuracy, what we actually have to do is take a step back and take a look at what that process might look like. So let's understand a typical billing process. Now, I understand this will not apply to every law firm in the room here in Austin or at home virtually. But bear with me. For many typical firms, we see the process start in billing with that initial meeting and that fee agreement. That is a perfect time to set the stage and the context for how you expect to be paid for your services, when, and with what payment methods. Then you're off to the races. You are logging time entries and expenses as they happen. We heard in a few sessions at ClioCon so far that we have so many tools available to help you stay on top of that, to be accurate in your entries. So you're logging everything, the matter's progressing, maybe you bill them at the end of the matter, or maybe you bill them throughout, depending on your case length. But either way, you're going to draft a bill. Once you draft that bill, depending on how many folks are at the firm, you might go through an approval process, but at the end of the day, you have to share the bill with your client. So that heads off, and then we're into our payment collection process. Again, this might not look like yours particularly, but bear with me. We send off that bill or that trust request, and with Clio Payments, we actually have the ability to embed that secure payment link or QR code so that the client can pay right away and ideally minimize that second step. We don't want you waiting long for payments, and we definitely don't want you having to follow up for payments. Once that payment gets deposited into your connected bank account, Clio Payments actually connects it right away to that invoice. Now we've collected the money, we've done the billing thing, let's account for everything that's happened. So in Clio Accounting, because of that deep sync with Clio Manage and Clio Payments, our approved bills are synced over to Clio Accounting, as are the payments. Your accounts receivable gets updated, and your payment deposit is created that you can match on the bank feed. And then, of course, there's the big R word, reconciliation. You reconcile your accounts and your credit cards, and that is generally our major steps. So that was the typical process of the financial trifecta. We've talked to you about what. We talked to you about what you want to achieve as well with our 3 tenets. But now is the how, and I couldn't be more excited to hand over the stage to Peggy to explain everything you need to do to get there. Peggy?
Thank you, Megan. And welcome everybody here in the room and watching from home or the office or Starbucks or wherever you may be sitting today. The financial process is a cyclical process, meaning they're never ever done. If you're running your business smoothly and correctly, you're getting clients, you're going through that client intake process, you're getting the work done, you're incurring expenses, both client advanced expenses that you need to get paid for back, and also firm expenses. You're also then preparing your bills and getting them sent out. And lastly, you're getting paid and you rinse and repeat that process all over again. You're managing a lot of stuff because things are happening at different times. Clients are coming in at different times. You're having client conversations. Expenses are occurring at a different pace. Some clients are paying slower than others, hopefully not too slow. We give them a lot of different methods. And some clients are paying in different methods. We're going to talk a little bit about all that way. And then on top of that, you are running a business. As a solo lawyer, you're running your own business. So you also have to think of business expenses that are coming through at a different workflow than what you're seeing. Each of these steps that we're going to talk about triggers their own workflow. And we're going to talk about steps 2, actually the slide's old, 2, 3, and 4. 2 is about getting the work done, 3 is about getting paid, and that 4th one is about getting your accounting set up. And if you're using the tools in your tool belt, which is Clio, right, with all their great features, things are happening automatically, and things are getting done in Clio, getting pushed over to Clio Accounting so that you have accurate financial records. Law firms, I've been working with law firms for over 25 years. Law firms are straightforward, they're profitable businesses. All right, and you can have a profitable business as well with the right tools and the right mindset. And I want to talk a little bit about mindset. We're going to talk a lot about tools. The mindset comes into play here. One of the most rewarding things that I get to experience in our business is when a solo attorney comes to us when they're ready to actually get a handle on their finances. They've been running their business, they've been doing things on paper, they need to now they need better financial insight into their business. So they come to us and we set that all up. But a mind shift has happened. All of a sudden, they're not just an attorney, they're a business owner. And they're thinking about growing. And that's a huge thing to remember when you're sitting in this room about using Clio to run your business. You have to realize you really are running a business now. And having that mindset change, now we're tracking revenue, we're tracking expenses, we're tracking KPIs, and we're able to make better financial decisions about their business. And just remember, and we're driving growth. So we have the tools in place, and now we're driving growth. And there always are going to be lessons learned along the way. Nothing is fail-proof. This is couple interesting statistics. Because seamless systems are more efficient, firms who have connected their financial processes, billing, payments, tracking expenses, accounting, are working over 25% more cases and putting in 70% more billable time compared to 2016. Those are big numbers. And here's a huge shift to think about. 72% are collecting more money with the availability of these connected systems, and this is compared to 2016 as well. Let's dive into some of your best practices for firms billing. And I'm going to talk to you from experience because we use Clio to run our business as well. So everything I'm going to be talking about are things that I have intimate knowledge about and are very excited to share with you as well. First, let's talk about automating this process for the bills. But before we can automate this process, it's really important that you sit down and understand the process that you want to automate. So we at CPN Legal are huge into checklists. One of my favorite books I'll throw out there is Checklist Manifesto. It's a really great book if you haven't read it. But we put together checklists or SOPs so we know how things should happen. And then we're going to take that checklist, and we're going to automate it with the features Clio has for us. So after we define your process, set up the workflows, it's going to ensure 5 things happen. One is you're going to do more timely billing, which is going to affect cash flow, which we can all get excited about. You're going to have better client communication. Remember that client-centered law firm concept that Jack talks so much about? This is going to be integral to that. You're going to allow you to minimize risk, that tenet that Megan talked about, accuracy. Right? We want to be accurate. We're going to minimize risks of errors. We're also going to free up valuable time, your time, to concentrate on other things that truly matter to you, like maybe spending more time with your family, maybe billing more hours, maybe spending more time working on your business instead of in your business from a financial perspective. Right? And lastly, you may get more of those increased billable hours. Let's talk a little bit about frequent issues that firms encounter affecting their billing. And I hear this a lot as we also do invoicing for clients, about 100 clients. So we're improving their processes, but these are the types of issues they come to us with. But let's go over these and then learn what tools Clio has given us to eliminate some of these issues. Hard costs. Hard costs are a potential black hole for a law firm. That's where you are spending money up front, hoping to get reimbursed later, right, for that expense. Well, with Clio Accounting, hard costs sync over directly to your accounting system and onto your client's bill, so there's no double entry and nothing slips through the cracks. Time entries. Think about you as a lawyer, where you spend most of your time. Email communications. Document preparation, meetings with clients. Clio has lots of tools, integrations available to help this happen timely. The internal approval process lacks clarity. So as the draft bills are prepared, they have to get finalized. And this is a hiccup that can happen in the billing cycle. But once you document this, and put it in your workflow, it eliminates that hiccup that can happen. And also, Clio's billing workflow has a pending approval stage in it that allows you to utilize those tools to help make sure that your bills keep flowing through the pipeline. Preparing and sending invoices out individually is very time-consuming, yes. But with Clio's bulk billing features, you can prepare your invoices, approve, apply trust funds, and send those emails with one click of a button. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in Clio's new job status tab that I know my Nicole has been very happy to be using. Following up on bills, this is probably something that is a big chunk of your time. Following up on bills that aren't getting paid, right? That AR that we want to eliminate eventually. Well, Clio has automated bill reminders. And in that automated bill reminder workflow, you can actually customize the bill messages, who they go to, and the frequency those bill reminders go out. And if you've got Clio payments connected to all that, your payments are going to come in and flow into through your system into your accounts and get paid. Let's talk a little bit about what integrations are available when it comes to adding activities as they happen. We all know that a billing process runs smoother and more efficiently when we're not trying to track down lawyers to go back and enter their time, right? So we want to make sure our time entries are happening as they occur. So inside of Clio, we can use your calendar to capture time for meetings. And off that calendar, you can actually book a time entry right from your Clio calendar. And if you're using the Outlook integration, anything that happens on your Outlook calendar is getting synced over to Clio and vice versa. Clio's Timekeeper tool, we're huge users of the Timekeeping tool. We use that as we start a task, work on it, turn it off, go back to it later, turn it back on, but that allows to make sure you're capturing everything you're doing every day. You can also create time entries from Clio Tasks, and I'm not sure that any of you out there are using Clio Tasks right now, but I know that lots of improvements are coming down the line for Clio Tasks, so you might want to start looking at those. And for any of your Apple users out there, Suri has a great integration with Clio for you to just add time entries right from your phone. It's best practice at the end of the day to go to your Clio's Activities tab and filter it for just that day and really look at how much time did you bill today. It's very eye-opening to do that and make that a habit. We're going to have a great speaker later today that talks about habits, so we'll talk about that habit right here, all right? I want to tell you one other tip that we have. Using automation and Clio data, we have built a system where every Monday morning, every one of our employees gets an email sent to them that summarizes what were their billable hours last week, what were their non-billable hours, and what's the total hours. And it empowers them to be really proactive about getting their time entered. All right? And it might even embarrass them every once in a while to realize that they only entered 8 hours last week of billable time. So that's a great tip. It also leads to great tracking as an owner of the firm, utilization tracking. So if you want more information about that, stop by our booth. We're happy to share that with you. We are huge activity category users at TPA Legal. And I had a conversation at lunch yesterday with a law firm that when I talked about activity, they were talking about how long it takes to review their bills and fix spelling errors and did they say things correctly. And I mentioned activity categories and they about fell off their chair because they had no idea that this was something they had available to use. So it was fun to give that little tip to them. But activity categories are inside of Clio for both time and expenses. And you're going to utilize these to have a consistent message to send to your client, reduce spelling and grammatical errors, and more important, reduce keystrokes. Keystrokes take time, right? And when you look at activity categories, you're going to have some options on how to set them up as a flat fee, custom rates, or user rates. And some examples of activity category would be Zoom call with client, or prepare and send e-filing documents. I could go on and on about activities, but look them up and use them. Custom fields. Okay, talking about improving the efficiency of your billing cycle to get the bills done faster, out the door, and get paid. Custom fields are your friend here. Custom fields are used to set up, you can use them to set up bill cycles and matter types for billings. The reason we love custom fields is because they can be used as a filter when you're preparing draft bills. They can also be used in custom reports, and they can also be used in document templates. So for a more efficient billing process itself, here's some examples of which you can set up. You can identify the matter. Is it an hourly matter, flat fee, contingent, pro bono, or whatever other selections you might want to put in there. You can also, if anybody does insurance defense, you're going to be familiar with leads billing. Clio has a great ability to do leads billing. But some matters need to have their own bill cycle, so we like to set up a custom field to identify the matters that are leads matters. If you have multiple office locations, you might want to set up a custom field that identifies office locations so you can bulk bill by office location, all right? The other thing that you might want to bulk bill by is if they are split billing. And this is a new feature in Clio, right? And some matters are very unique if they need split billing, and maybe you want to run those on a different cycle. So set up a custom field to help you identify those. Let's dig into some effective ways to generate and send your bills. And by the way, automation doesn't have to come at the cost of personalization with the Clio tools that we have available. Let's talk a little bit about your invoice templates, your bill themes, as Clio calls them. This is a powerful tool inside of Clio. Lots of flexibility on how you want to design your invoices with the information that will help you get paid faster. I want to go over about 6 points that we find are really important. One is, does the format of your invoice include all important information about your firm? Your correct firm address, an email, a phone number. And if it's going to have an email address on it, think twice about whether you want that email to be your email or maybe your legal assistant's or office manager's email. I also threw in there something about including your EIN number somewhere on your invoice, because what's going to happen at the end of the year or in January, you're going to get a lot of people requesting your EIN number as they prepare those wonderful 1099 forms. The other thing to look at, does it properly reflect your correct client and matter information? And Clio has the ability to set up multiple addresses, and you can identify an address as a billing address so that you can actually have the correct information that your client wants when that bill is prepared. The other thing that you need to understand, have your client understand, is what was actually getting done that they're paying for. So when you understand, when you lay out your invoice, you have the ability to split fees and expenses. And what I mean by that is you can create sections that include your fee and section that includes your expenses, and they'll each have separate subtotals so your client can easily see what was done. This is also where those activity categories come into play to be useful. The other thing is, will your client see that trust funds were applied to that invoice when it was generated and paid? This is actually an ethical obligation you have as a lawyer to always include on your invoice the trust funds that were used and the current trust fund balance. So make sure you design your invoice template to include those two features as well. The last thing I'll talk about is, does your invoice template include a little mini statement of account? And what that's going to do, you can actually put that at the top or the bottom of your invoice, but it lets your client know that in addition to this current invoice that they're getting, they actually owe money on other invoices. And it'll put a total outstanding balance on there for you. When you get Clio shipped to you, Clio's going to come, when you send bills through Clio, it's going to come shipped with an email address that's called notifications@clio.com. The first thing you're going to do setting up your new Clio account is change that email address to your email address. This actually improves the accurate delivery of your, not delivery, it'll still get delivered to the right client, but your client will now easily recognize that it's from you instead of a notifications@clio.com. And they'll be more likely to open that email up and pay it. Bill message templates. I don't know how many of you guys use bill message templates. Very great tool inside of Clio. It actually, right off the bat, it's going to help you bill more efficiently while retaining that personal touch, that automation with personal touch. Expanded autofill fields are available in your bill message templates to even personalize each message a little bit more. You can make up to 20 distinct bill message templates inside of Clio, and they can be, maybe you have a particular attorney that likes to say things differently than another attorney, so create a bill message template for him. Maybe you have particular clients that need particular information when they're getting their bill. Create a bill message template just for them as well. We create bill message templates to identify things like, hey, we did your billing, we applied your trust funds. Your current trust balance is this amount, which is one of those autofill fields. So you're communicating even on the invoice and in the bill message template, information about their trust, what happened with their trust. Great new feature, guys. Clio, earlier this year, allows us now to embed an email signature in our bill message templates that actually include images, like your firm logo. All right? So go to Settings, and I think the middle column at the bottom is a tab called Communications. And that's where you can build your email signature with your firm logos and even make it look better. Bill in bulk. This is the ultimate way to efficiently and accurately send out your bills and save valuable time. And a billing doesn't have to be a dreaded task that first week of the month if we're doing everything to prepare for a smooth billing cycle and using Clio's bulk billing methods, right? You can prepare, approve, apply trust, and send with one click of a button. I do want to point out one thing that Clio came out with, thank goodness, was protected matter funds. And I bring this up because when you do our bulk billing and we get to the step that says approve and apply trust, sometimes clients have funds in trust that can't be touched until a certain milestone maybe happens or an event happens, and we want to exclude those. So Clio created the new protected matter funds feature so that it won't accidentally apply trust funds that shouldn't be applied when we do the bulk billing. So you can set that up by matter. In Clio, here's this new job status tab. This kind of just came out of the blue, and all of a sudden it was there, and we're looking at it like, what is this? This is amazing, okay? It used to be when we would go do bulk billing, you'd marked all your bills, you parent 300 of them, and your Clio screen sits there, and you wait for it to finish before you can go do something else. Well, now what happens is after you do the bulk billing task, it now moves over to a job status screen. So inside of Clio, you're going to now see this job status screen, which is actually going to relay kind of important information to you. And two things here, it's telling us that one of these bills had a zero balance, okay? So it didn't create it. Well, you may want to send zero balance invoices to your clients, okay? And when you prepare your bills, there's a checkbox you can check that says include $0 balance invoices. The bigger one is a bigger problem here. It says that whoever was doing billing did not have permissions on those matters to send the bills. Inside of Clio, there is a Matters Permission tab, right? And we've grown that tab to be really more sophisticated lately. But you have to make sure whoever is doing your billing has access or the right permissions to do billing, or this error is going to pop up and those bills aren't going to get generated. The other thing I want to talk about is, is the field last sent. So if any of you doing bulk billing and sending your bills out for Clio, you'll see a column that says last sent, and it'll populate with a date. Well, if you want to make sure that all your bills got sent through a billing cycle, we go to the unpaid bill screen. We're going to filter it to include the issue date of the bills we just prepared for that bill cycle, and we're going to sort by that column last sent. And it'll sort to the top any invoices that have a blank last sent date, so you know that those didn't get sent and they may need to be handled specially. So we want to make sure that we're sending bills to the clients so that it makes them easy to pay, and it's in a manner that they prefer to receive their bills in, tailored to meet their preferences. And this is a discussion that you should be having, as Megan pointed out, that fee agreement, that onboarding meeting with your client. There's a lot of things we can be proactive about, and I'm going to bring this up a lot, is what do we need to know ahead of time to make sure this billing process runs smooth? And this is where custom fields come in and other things like that. But one of the things we want to ask that client in that meeting is, how do you want to get your bill? Is it email okay? And do you have certain people that you want those bills sent to? In that case, you're going to use Clio's related contacts feature. And on that related contacts, there's a little checkbox that says bill recipient. And you can have as many bill recipients as you want. And those bill recipients can all get the invoice sent to them in one email, so they'll all see that each other was copied on that as well. The big, big thing. Clio for Clients Portal. You also have the option of sending your invoices through the client portal. If you're going to use that client portal, please have that discussion with your client during that onboarding meeting, because this is something kind of new, and they're going to have to know how to set it up and get access to that client portal. Okay, so beware of that. You can also send your bills through text. Great feature. Then they can pay them right from their mobile phone. And lastly, when you are sending bills through email or the client portal, you have the option of generating the bill as a PDF. In addition to generating the bill as a PDF, you have the option of including a QR code. So if you want to make it really simple, let that QR code get generated, so when they open up that bill, they can take their mobile phone, scan it in, and pay it with whatever method they prefer: Google Pay, Apple Pay, eCheck, ACH. Got a lot of options there. Set it and forget it. How often in our life do we get to do this? Maybe with alarms and paying your own bills, right? Well, Clio makes it really even nicer, because you can set it and forget it to get paid. And these are those automated bill reminder templates. Another area where you can craft a message, personalize it, and specify the frequency of these reminders and who the reminders should go to for collecting outstanding balances with Clio. And by the way, it's a big number here, 90%. Firms using email billing with via Clio payments are seeing a 3% higher collection rate than firms not using it. So 87 to 90%. Think about the effect this is going to have on your cash flow. And if you're a firm that's running billing to cover payroll at the end of the week, this is really important for you, because you need to get paid fast to cover your payroll. And when we see bills shared in bulk, we are seeing a 20% higher collection rate than firms that are not using this feature. Bills aren't missed, and they're getting sent to the right person. But let's talk a little bit about collection processes, and I'm going to grab a quick drink. All right, for you guys sitting out there, for you guys at home and elsewhere, let's talk about getting paid, the important part of this process too. This collection process, or the getting paid process, is something that has to be covered in your fee agreement, your onboarding time with your client. It's a time for you to lay out your whole billing process, how they want to get paid, who should get the bills, who's going to pay, what's their preference, do they want to pay by check, do they want to pay by Apple Pay, Google Pay, whatever preferences. So have this conversation. It'll be proactive, and the more you do up front, the less friction you've created when it gets time for your client to pay that bill. According to the Legal Trends report, Firms are still struggling to collect. All right, collection rates fell to 89% in 2022, and then we're looking like it's going to trend that same way. But Clio people can see an increase in collection rates with all the features we have in place to talk about right now. What can you do now so in 2025 you can be collecting more money and avoiding AR? And we're going to talk, this is your opportunity to start creating some new habits. Okay? Set expectations, be proactive. Saving payment methods up front. This is an opportunity for you when you're having this conversation with the client, identify how do they want to pay. And get your clients, if they're going to pay by credit card, let's collect that credit card up front using Clio Payments' secure method of capturing that credit card information. And then when you get ready to do your billing, you can include in your fee agreements language that says, we've got your credit card on file, you're agreeing that we can auto charge your card if the bill goes past due, whatever your payment terms might be. We actually use this at CPN Legal as well to make sure that we have a healthy cash flow process. Oh, custom fields, again, why we love them. If you're going to collect a credit card or a payment method on file, because sometimes it's not a credit card, create a custom field that identifies you have a payment method on file for those. So after you do billing, you can go to the unpaid, filter it by custom field, and identify all the matters where you've collected a credit card on file so you can auto pay that bill for yourself. Be proactive and ask. Payment plans. Let's talk a little bit about payment plans. Payment plans are a conversation you can have with your client up front to be fee forward and to avoid any large bills happening at the end of the case. And AR keeps accumulating on those bills. Payment plans are something that can be set up through Clio Payments. They're simple to set up. When we're doing Clio Payments and you're setting them up at the beginning of the engagement, we set up the payment plans to go into the trust account. Now, some of you might be worried about that, but if it's paying a bill, it shouldn't be in trust. Here's what we do with that. We set up the payment plans, they run automatically. Maybe it's $100 a month, maybe it's $500 a month. That money gets dumped into the trust account. But we've got a great report inside of Clio called the Matter Balance Summary Report. And on that report, it identifies matters that have an AR balance and money in trust. So we run that report every Monday morning to see what matters we can apply trust to clear out the AR because of the trust payments that came in the week before. So keep that in mind. Payment plans are great. Be fee forward. Listen to your client. It may be a great tool for them. And this is a quick screen. Payment plans. If you haven't thought about using payment plans or having the discussion, go ahead and do it. We're finding that 70% of legal customers like the idea of a payment plan. Okay, it lets you be a little bit more transparent with your clients up front and gives them more accessibility to your services. And that theme of being client-centered law firm, payment plans is a great way to achieve that. Preferences to pay. Everybody has a different preference to pay. And whether it's old-fashioned check, credit card, ACH, Apple Pay, Google Pay, you want to provide them with a lot of methods to make payment. And having the right option available for your clients reduces that window from bill being sent to payment being received, okay? So chances are you might have clients that want to pay Google Pay, Apple Pay, credit card, ACH, lots of different options with Clio Payments, as that screen shows there. We talked about using related contacts to make sure the right person's getting the bill. Let's talk a little bit about operating in a fee-forward manner here, right? We want to always be sure that we're avoiding AR, and that's a goal for 2025, by including things like payment plans. And now let's talk about trust, getting trust monies in and trust replenishments. Out of the 300+ firms that we manage their finances for, the most profitable ones believe it or not, our family law, by the way, that get retainers up front and replenish those retainers during the billing cycle. And Clio has great features for it built into it to allow that to happen so that you can use the trust money at billing and then send out that trust replenishment retainer right away. And if you've got their credit card on file stored and they've agreed to this, you can actually refill their trust account automatically with that information you have. Okay, getting the bill generated and getting it sent out is only half the problem. Getting paid is our final goal here. And we talked a lot about online payments already, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But I will tell you that it is proven that client law firms that use online payments get paid twice as fast as clients that don't use it. They actually reduce their window of payment from 15 days to 7 days. So go visit our Clio payments, online payments, if you haven't yet. But let's move to the third area for running a profitable law firm. And it's a new product that Clio has out that makes the entire financial process seamless. And it's Clio Accounting. And it's new, it's exciting. There's a lot of people here to talk to you about Clio Accounting. Clio Accounting has, by centralizing your firm's financial management within Clio, from processing client payments, applying trust to invoices, replenishing trust, capturing client expenses, getting reimbursed for those expenses, and capturing firm overhead expenses. These are all the things that are now swept into Clio Accounting to give you simplified tracking of revenue and expenses, and a picture into your firm profitability. So we'll kind of look through this. And here's some questions to ask yourself as you start looking at your financial side of stuff and what Clio Accounting has to offer. Is your bank account growing? Is it getting bigger? Or is it not getting bigger? The other thing, I got to refer to my notes here, hold on. The other thing to think about here is, are you collecting enough money to cover your monthly nut? Now, what I mean by a monthly nut, and this is really important for you guys to identify and put this big number up somewhere that you look at it. Your monthly nut is your firm's fixed monthly expenses, from payroll to software to marketing to supplies to subscriptions, everything. That number is the amount of money you got to collect every month in order to break even. Anything above that number is money that you can use to pay yourself, imagine that, or invest back into the business, right, or build a rainy day fund. But identifying that monthly nut and being able to look at that and see where you're at towards reaching that monthly nut number on revenue side. The other thing for tax purposes, knowing how much profit you have in the business every quarter is going to help you plan for paying for taxes for that later. So work with your bookkeeper on that as well, but having that vision of how much money you're making and possible taxes that need to be paid is going to be important. The other thing is, are you capturing all your business expenses, right? We want accurate financials at the end of the year so you can submit actual tax reports. But business expenses are something that we have to make sure are all included in your system here. And when you have business expenses that you sometimes pay personally on your own personal credit card, don't forget to get them added to your firm's finances as well, so you get the tax benefit of that expense. Here's a big question. By looking at stuff, are you spending too much money? Right? Or maybe you're not spending enough. Are you positioning your firm for growth? Or are you hindering your growth? These are the type of questions you can ask and get answers to when you've got good financials to look at. Client advance costs. These are things that we want to make sure we're properly tracking and getting reimbursed for. So we're going to look at financials to make sure that that's happening. So let's go through what Clio Accounting has to offer in these areas. This is an example of the Clio Accounting dashboard. And as you can see, at a quick glance, You're going to be able to see what your current operating balance is, how much money you have in trust. And by the way, Clio does allow multiple trust accounts, so you can set those up. It's also going to give you a quick insight into how much money you have sitting on the table in accounts receivable. And really cool, as your operating expenses are right in front of you right there, and your profit and loss number for the period is also staring right at you. So that monthly net number I talked about, that's something you can look at that P&L. Those operating expenses, by the way Clio Accounting's set up, that doesn't include client advance costs, because client advance costs actually sit on the balance sheet as a liability. So that's, if you have questions about that, you can ask the people then at the Clio Accounting booth. The other thing that's nice about this view is you'll see that it tells you how many transactions you have to review. All right, so that's called the bank being connected to Clio Accounting, pushing in transactions. So we'll go into the bank feed on the next screen. But you can also, it helps you remember that you have to have things done in order to have accurate financials. You can't ignore stuff that's sitting in the bank feed and have accurate financials. So starting with the financial workflow, we want to first connect your bank accounts and credit accounts to Clio Accounting. It's very simple to do inside of Clio Accounting, connecting these. And it's a solid connection. It doesn't break, and you don't have to go in and always reconnect it like some systems. By connecting your accounts with Clio Accounting, it lets you easily capture everything that's happening at the bank and on your credit cards, gets pushed into Clio Accounting so you can categorize them. The expenses will get categorized as software, payroll, supplies, whatever else, meals, whatever else you're spending money on. And more importantly, the revenue is going to sync over. So as money appears in your bank account, it's going to show up here in Clio Accounting as well. And it shows up, and it, oops. Hold on. This one. We're going to jump to this, and I'm going to jump back. Bank feeds. Bank feeds happen. This is where things come in and sit in a holding area inside of Clio Accounting for you to cipher through and categorize correctly and add to your bank register so we can eventually reconcile your bank accounts and credit card accounts. Okay? So this bank feed is really an important tool because it gives you a little bit of insight as to what came through and cleared your bank. And if you see something that looks suspicious, this is where you're going to capture it at, right? Maybe somebody went and used a credit card for something that you didn't know they were going to use it for, and all of a sudden you got a $2,000 charge on your credit card. This gives you the ability to be proactive with that and ask some questions. You'll categorize your expenses. Clio payments will come in. They'll automatically match up to what happened inside of Clio Manage because we've got this well-connected system, okay? Now I'm going to go back. Reconciliations. This is one of what we live and die by at CPN Legal, are doing reconciliations. Okay, you can never have accurate financials. You can't trust that dashboard if you don't reconcile your accounts every month, okay? And Clio Accounting makes it really easy to reconcile your bank accounts. But what's the why do we want to reconcile stuff? We want to reconcile things to make sure that we aren't accidentally duplicating expenses, duplicating deposits, having errors, it'll capture errors. So when you go through the reconciliation process, we're going to talk about the reconciliation report as well, what to look for. But remember that you can't file taxes on unreconciled accounts. That should be your clue right there. And on the trust account side, there's consequences for not reconciling your accounts. Because if you were to get audited, you're going to have to produce 12 months of reconciliation reports. All right? And with Clio Accounting, those reconciliation reports are stored right inside of Clio. So they're at your fingertips to get to. All right? But going through a trust account audit, hopefully you never have to, But when the time comes, you want to be prepared and be proactive and have those accounts already all reconciled and sealed up. Clio also will do a trust three-way match reconciliation for you with their new Clio accounting tool, which is also an important part of the state bar requirements when they're looking and doing an audit for you. So keep all that in mind. What to look for in a reconciliation report? We got a long list here. Oh, here we go. First of all, after you reconcile and you hit done, you're not done. Okay? You have to physically look at this reconciliation report because it's going to pop out things that are wrong that are going to affect your taxes in the long run. So what do we look for? In the trust account bank register, we're going to look for uncleared checks. So let's say you wrote a check to a third party for medical records or chiropractor, you do personal injury, and you wrote that check 6 months ago and it still hasn't cleared. Okay, now we got a dilemma because if they go try to cash that check, it might be stale dated and the bank might not cash it. So to be proactive, you should reach out to that person, void that check, and reissue it to keep your trust accounts clean and accurate. So we're going to look for uncleared checks. We're also going to look for uncleared deposits. Now, uncleared deposits, and by the way, these uncleared transactions, particularly a deposit, can be not cleared yet because they happened on the next day of the month. Those are cutoffs. Like if you reconcile as of September 30th, but a deposit came through on October 1st, that's obviously going to be an uncleared deposit because it happened on October 1st. It happened at the bank on October 1st. It may have happened on September 30th inside Clio Accounting, but it didn't clear until October 1st, and that's fine. But on uncleared deposits in the trust account, if you see an uncleared deposit, particularly one that has the same dollar amount as one that's reconciled, that means you've got a duplicate deposit happening. And how that can happen in Clio Accounting is in the bank feed, you're going to have the opportunity to match transactions or add transactions. And we always want to go to the side of matching transactions because Clio manages pushing data over to accurately capture stuff. So, but if you accidentally add a transaction, you're going to create a duplicate deposit possibly that we want to fix before that month is actually closed out. Same thing on operating, I got to speed up here. Same thing on operating accounts. We want to make sure that we don't have any unclear checks or any duplicate deposits that are overstating or understating your profit for that month. Look at your reconciliation reports. I did bank feeds. Talked a little bit about AR. I'm going to kind of go through here, but what I do want to point out is how accurate your AR is in Clio Accounting because it actually matches Clio Manage directly. So right from Clio Accounting, you can be looking at your AR. You can see what clients are affecting your cash flow because they're not paying. You can click on any of these fields and dig right into it right from inside Clio Accounting. So let's talk a little bit about reports. Reports that you need to be looking at every month to keep insights into what your firm is doing. And by looking at these reports on a regular cadence, it's going to build your habits of understanding that you've got a business you're running, and I got to keep an eye on my profit and loss reports to make sure I'm actually making money. Okay? So on the side, Clio is coming. I'm going to go through a few reports that we think are pretty key to look at and why. One of the first reports after you're done reconciling is to look at your profit and loss report. Okay, your profit and loss report is important because it's tracking your revenue and your expenses. And one thing I did want to point out is Clio Accounting, the way you have a good profit and loss report is by having a good chart of accounts. What's a chart of accounts? A chart of account is a map that defines how you're categorizing expenses or income, okay? And Clio comes shipped with a really great chart of accounts that you probably don't even have to touch. It's ready to go for you. But your profit and loss report is something you want to look at to compare and check expenses, what might have jumped up one month? Did I miss an expense? Did rent get miscategorized? If you're running your P&L and you see your rent number 0 for that month, you may have accidentally recategorized that transaction as software instead of rent. So these are things to be looking at on your P&L report as you go through it. On the income side, Clio is going to dump your income into a bucket, one bucket of income. I want to point out that, I'm going to get to that in a minute. It's another report that we run to let you split out your fee income into, for example, practice areas, right inside your P&L here. I'm going to hurry up because I don't have much time. We talked about reconciliation reports. Okay, let's dig into Clio Managed Reports. The revenue report. Why do we love the revenue report? This is the tool we use for our clients that want a P&L having their income broken out by practice area or by attorney. So we use this month, the revenue report, to achieve creating a journal entry inside Clio Accounting to split out that income for them. All right? The revenue report also has a lot of other different information on it, but you can also customize that view to include the information that's important to looking at for your P&L. The billing history report. This is one that we live by. I live by when I do cash flows for my clients. It is an historical report of how much did I bill each month. Okay, how much got billed? That tells us, that predicts future revenue. So if we see a drop in billables in August compared to July, we know that September, October revenue is going to drop because we didn't bill as much. And then back to that, remember tracking your billable hours and making sure everybody enters their time? This is another side effect of that if it's not getting done timely. We talked about the matter balance summary report. And I think, Megan, I can hand it over to you. Thank you so much for listening in.
Thank you so much, Peggy. And everyone here, I know we are running out of time, but I want to leave you with a couple of final thoughts and reminders, right? We're going back to our 3 tenets of success so that you can find that financially at your firm, starting with interconnectivity, that financial flow. Right? Peggy gave us amazing tips. Your notebooks are probably overflowing with tips on billing, payment collection, and accounting best practices. So let's connect all of that data together. Let's reduce those errors, work smarter, and stay financially informed. Let's be proactive, right? Do more things up front. Set up those things, those tips that Peggy gave us right at the start of a client engagement. Get proactive about it. Allow your clients to really understand what's coming down the pike. And of course, accuracy, right? Accuracy is everything. So make sure to achieve that accuracy, that you're connecting everything, connecting your data, your processes. You are staying on top of everything that you are putting into Clio, into your billing, your payment pieces, and accounting. On behalf of Peggy and I would love to thank you so much for attending our session on connecting your financial processes. And with that, enjoy the rest of day 2.